Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Jenny. Today's going to be a really interesting topic that I'm going to be talking about. Not only interesting but a really dramatic, I want to say traumatic yet happy. So the reason why I'm coming on here today to talk to you guys finally about my 15 and pregnant story. So if you guys are interested in see how this went, keep on watching. So we're gonna go ahead and start when I met my daughter's dad. So at that age, I was in 9th grade. I was going to high school. I was, freshman. So happy to go to high school and be with all my friends. Mind you, I was always a really bad kid. I always wanted being to fight. I was always ditching. I was always easily influenced. So I was I had just turned 14 when we started high school, 9th grade. We went into 9th grade. I went to high school, and my best friend and I went to high school together. So after that, she introduced me to this guy because she had gone to elementary school with him, and in middle school they separated. They went different middle schools, and she went to a middle school, and then he went to another middle school, and I met her in middle school. So mind you, I didn't go to elementary here. I went to elementary down below in the valley, we call it, but we went, which is like 45 minutes away from here. But then I moved out here, I went to middle school, and then that's how I met her. So me and her became best friends around that time, like in middle school. Then afterwards we were so excited to go to high school together. So she introduced me to him, and right away I liked him. Back in the days, when you're 14, you really don't know what you like, you really don't know what you're into. So I liked him right away. We started talking, and it escalated fast. Like, we started talking, we would call each other, and then in little time I started going over his house and hanging out with him more. Mind you guys, we were only 14, and it did not help that he lived so close to school. So we started getting involved more. 2 months after we met and I started going out, we started getting sexually active. So at this point we weren't going to school. My best friend's mom would drop us off at school, and they would go to class, and I would jump the wall, go to his apartment buildings, and then I would spend the whole day there. And it was time for school to be out. I would jump the fence back and either walk with my friends home, or go catch a ride with my friend's mom. So this was at least 2-3 times a week. So I was never at school. My parents would get calls and say that I was absent and this and that. However, every time they would call, I will act like my mom, or I will write notes myself with my mom's signature and say, please excuse her for blah blah blah. So I was not going to school. I was not getting my grades. I wasn't doing my assignments. I will go, let's say sometimes I would go first period, then second, third, fourth period I will be at his house, and then fifth, so it was a mess, guys. I was a mess. Me and him started dating in September of the previous year. So I turned 15 in April, and we were already sexually active. However, I didn't know about protection. I didn't know about birth control. I didn't know about anything. My mom used to talk about it, but it wasn't something that I would think in my head, oh my god, this is never gonna happen. I'm never gonna be sexually active at such a young age. We would never ever take care of ourselves. There was always, he would always say he knew I had so much trust in him, and he was you're not, it's not, nothing's gonna happen, because I felt like I was so in love with this guy. Like, my parents found out that I had a boyfriend, and they were really mad because they were like, what are you doing? You're so young, you shouldn't have a boyfriend. But yeah, you know, they started like easily like, okay, cool. But I was never allowed to go over his house after school. Like sometimes, guys, I would freaking go get out of school supposedly, and I wouldn't come home until 6 in the afternoon. Mind you, school used to get out at 2:30, so my mom would be out there looking for me. Like she would call my friends and see like, where's Jenny, where's Jenny. I was at his house, so I was never tired of him. I would never get tired of being with him and stuff. So then May came, my sister's graduation. She graduated as a senior in May, and my mom guys, this is juicy. My mom was pregnant in May of that same year when I turned 15. My mom found out she was pregnant around March, so she was already showing by my sister's graduation. So it was the end of May, beginning of June. I was already feeling symptoms, like I was throwing up and I wasn't getting my period, but I would always think like, oh, it's gonna come eventually. I always had irregulars. Like I would never get it at the same time. I would get it a week before, a week after, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So I was always irregular. I never had regular periods. So I would just think to myself, it's gonna come, like, nah, nothing's gonna happen to me. Like I'm not pregnant. So June came and we were getting out of school already. It was the end of the year already. It was the end of a freshman year. So this time, you know, I knew I wasn't going to go to his house anymore because I wasn't in school, you know. It was like those little kids puppy love stuff. So afterwards, I started noticing that I wasn't getting my period. My mom started noticing in June too that I wasn't getting my period either. So she would be like, you haven't got your period. And I would be like, yeah, I got it. And June came and I was already having symptoms. I was really sleepy and I was going to be in quinceañeras that year. So I was scheduled to be, for that summer I was really busy because I was scheduled to leave to El Salvador in August. I was scheduled to be in a quinceañera in September, and then my cousin's quinceañera in October. So June came and I told my best friend, like, hey, you know what, I'm not getting my period, and yeah, we are, it's actually active and this and that. And she already knew the everything, right? So she said, okay, we're gonna walk to Rite Aid. And I was like, oh my god, like this is real, you know. She's like, we need to go get a pregnancy test, Jenny. Like you might be pregnant. You're not protecting yourself and you're doing this and that. So she said, let's walk to Rite Aid. So we walked to Rite Aid and we didn't have money for the pregnancy test. So at that time I just took the pregnancy test. I didn't even buy it. I just grabbed one from the box, put it in my pocket, and I freaking went to the restroom and I took the pregnancy test and it was positive. So I came out and I said, yes, it's positive. At this point I didn't know what to do. I started crying. She was like, well, we're gonna have to take another one. So we went, the other one we went to go and we got it. We bought another one and I took it at the house and I was pregnant. August came. It was time for me to go to El Salvador, and I had gotten as a gift this plane ticket to go to El Salvador for 2 weeks and then come back. So I was on my way and we had eaten some pupusas before we left home, and on my way there I threw up everything. So my parents were worried that, you know, I was gonna get sick in El Salvador, that I hadn't been to El Salvador in such a long time, and they were worried, but they said, you know, I still had to go because I had the plane ticket. So I left. But mind you guys, I already knew I was pregnant. I hadn't told anybody. The only person that knew was my best friend. And I think like some of our little friends from high school. In El Salvador, we went to the mercado over there in El Salvador with my grandma, and my parents, I kept in contact with both of my grandmas, like, hey, you know what, Jenny threw up before she left, like make sure she's not sick, she's probably just feeling sick, she's gonna get more sick with everything over there and blah blah blah, right? So we went to the mercado with my grandma, and it was really hot, guys, really hot. El Salvador is really humid. So we walked and all I remember was feeling very dizzy, and I felt dizzy, I threw up, and I, like, you know, fainted. and my grandma grabbed me. She sat me and she said, oh my god, what's wrong with you? Why are you so sick? We're not gonna feed you this food anymore. Oh my god. I was 15 at that time. Then we went to pools. I was like getting in the pools, jumping in the pools. We were playing freaking Marco Polo in the pools, all these games. I was getting in the beach. I got on the freaking roller coasters at the fair and the Ferris wheel. I was just having my own thing. In my mind, it was like I knew I was pregnant, but I didn't want to accept it. So I came back from El Salvador and I had to continue to do the rehearse for the walls for my best friend and my cousin's quinceañera. So school, we started at the beginning of September. So I started school and I will always want to sleep. Like I never wanted to do anything but sleep. In the mornings I would get nauseous, but it wasn't really that bad. So I also didn't look pregnant. I just looked fat. And back then I used to dress with really baggy t-shirts, like just white t-shirts and jeans. So my parents never noticed because I didn't show a stomach. I didn't get fat. So mind you, I was already about in September, so I must have got pregnant like around May. So June, July, August, September, I was already 4 months pregnant at that time. So all I wanted to do was sleep and just chill, you know. And I was so lazy to do anything, but I knew in my heart and I knew in me that I was pregnant. So I myself also tried to hide it. Like I would wear jeans, I would wear like, you know, baggy shirts, but I just didn't want to, like, I didn't want to tell anybody. Like my best friend would say, Jenny, don't eat that, you're pregnant, Jenny. And I would just be like, oh, I'm not pregnant. Like, you know, just in my head I was dumb or something. So September came, it was chill. I came out in the quinceañera. My boobs were huge when it was my time for my best friend's quinceañera. The dress fit me so tight and I looked fat. So my parents just like, oh, she's fat. And I was wearing the little shawl that they give you for the quinceañera. I would wear it like here on my breast area because I felt like my boobs were so huge that they barely fit in my dress. So then the quinceañera passed and then it was time for the next quinceañera in October. October came. My cousin's quinceañera was almost at the end of October. Mind you, I still hadn't told my parents. My mom would come in my room all the time. My mom at this time was already freaking big pregnant. She was like freaking 7 months already pregnant. So she would come in my room and she would ask, Jenny, are you pregnant? You haven't got your period? And I would be like, no mom, I'm not pregnant, you're tripping, I got my period. Oh yeah, it's gonna come, you just haven't noticed. So I just kept on prolonging it. In my mind, like I really didn't think what I was gonna say, or you know, like who just does that? Who just puts yourself at risk and your kid at risk? But guys, I was just going through a lot of emotions. I just didn't know how to express myself or say anything. So then that happened, and then October came and it was time for my cousin's quinceañera. So by the time it was time for me to put on my my dama dress, that thing would not close. It freaking ripped. I was crying and crying and crying. I looked so fat, like you can tell my stomach. And so I was just so, at that time I was so devastated. I was still dating my daughter's dad. You know, in school I would always see him in school and I would do the same thing, ditch school, whatever, and do bad stuff. So then I was crying, I was not having it, I did not have fun. I remember it was time for the freaking surprise dance and I put on my dress, and at this point with that dress you can tell I had a belly. And my mom now makes a comment that my dad said, is Jenny pregnant? Because you can see my stomach. And my mom was like, no, you're seeing things. Like I feel like my mom knew in her heart too, but she didn't want to admit it as well as me because my mom was pregnant too. So September came and October came and it was done and I came out and that was it. And I still kept on denying it. I still didn't say anything, you know. And one time, November, guys, November, it was a week before my mom had her daughter, my little sister. So in November I was crying. It was 2 weeks into 2 weeks into November, and I was in my bed crying because I had found out that my daughter's dad had been seeing somebody else, and and he didn't want to be with me anymore. He told me, I don't want to be with you, like I want to be with someone else. And he already knew that I was pregnant, and I would always tell him like, dude, I'm pregnant, like what are you gonna do, like what's gonna happen? He had no response. He had no like he just didn't care. I think so too. He didn't care because I was so oblivious to it, like I'm not pregnant, but he just didn't care. He didn't say like, oh, we have to work this out, like it's gonna be okay. He had a rough childhood, and his dad was barely around. He was mostly living by himself with his sister, so it's just a whole thing, that incorporated in him. But that's his business. I don't talk to him, and I don't know where he's at. That's his stuff. But he just was like, one day, like, I don't want to talk to you anymore, like I'm dating someone else. So I was in my room crying. So my mom came in. I didn't want to eat, I didn't want to go outside, I didn't want to do nothing. I was just bawling. So my mom comes in my room, and then she's like, Jenny, like what's going on? Why are you so depressed? Why you don't come out? You don't want to do anything? And she's like, and she popped the question, are you pregnant? And I was bawling and crying, and I nodded my head yes. She started crying. Mind you guys, she was almost due with my little sister. So my mom started crying, and she said, why you didn't tell me, why you didn't trust me? I'm your mom, I knew it, but I wanted to come out from you. You had to tell me yourself. And it was a depressing moment. I was very, very depressed. I was already 7 months when my parents found out I was pregnant. 7 months. So my mom's like, what do you want to do? It's up to you, whatever you want to do. We're gonna, back you up no matter what, but I do have to tell your dad. So what my mom did, my dad was very, very strict, and he's a nice person. He's got a nice heart, but he's very strict. So my mom was afraid that when my dad found out that I was pregnant, he would hit me or anything like that. So my mom said, you know what? My dad never hit us like that, but my mom was just scared, she just didn't want him to be so mad at me when she told him, and she didn't want me to be there when she told him. So she said, I'm gonna send you off to your aunt in the valley, which is 45 minutes away from here, to be over there with your aunt while I tell your dad. So I think at this point we were already in Thanksgiving break, so I didn't have to go to school. So she sent me off to my aunt's house, and for 3 days she finally told my dad, and my dad did not eat for a whole week. My dad was very depressed, and as a daughter I understand why my dad was so depressed. I just feel like I let them down, and that's something that I didn't want to do. So my dad didn't eat for a whole week. I got back home, and my dad sat down, and he's like, what are you gonna do, Jenny? We have 2 kids coming. You're pregnant, your mom's pregnant. What are you gonna do? And I just, started bawling. I said, Dad, I have to do it. I have to do it for my daughter. I have to go to school. I have to work. He's like, how are you going to work? Who's going to take care of a kid? He's like, we're done. We're not babysitters. We're not going to do that. You have to do it on your own. But my dad never mentioned, like, you have to go and live with him, or never mentioned you have to do anything. When my mom found out, she gave me the option to tell my daughter's dad, so his dad could come and talk to my dad and tell him. But I told him, and he just like didn't care. He didn't care about anything. Like, he said, yeah, I'm gonna tell my dad, I'm gonna tell my dad, and he never told his dad until I told his sister afterwards, and his sister told his dad. So my dad, like, he never came and talked to my dad. My dad was really upset, and he's like, you don't have to go. He's like, I don't want you to go, because where are you going to go? You're only 15. But you need to understand that this is a big responsibility, and how can my little girl, like, how can that happen to my little girl? And just really, really sad. After that, I feel like I let my parents down. My mom went into labor a week after she found out. And I just feel like everything after that is like a blur in my head. Just because, you know, I put my parents through all that stress, and I put myself through all that stress. But I was able to do it, guys. So I tell all you girls who are 15 younger and sexually active, please, please, please take care of yourself. You know, I was lucky enough to have my parents who backed me up, who helped me out so much. I would love to help my parents in any way I can. Of course, now I am 29. My daughter is 13. We got through this without her dad, with my parents. My dad has always been a dad figure there. My mom had her daughter 2 months after I had my daughter. I was taking care of 2 kids. So it was really rough, guys. I just felt like blank. Like, I can't even tell you. I can't remember a lot of stuff. But thank you guys all so much for watching. Always I feel really appreciative of everything in life. God has me where he wants me to be. So of course, if anybody has any questions, you guys can always contact me. Always, I have attached my Instagram, but anything else, I really appreciate it, guys. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm so happy that I can finally share this with you guys. See you guys next time. Bye.